All right, everyone. Hello. Grab your cup, grab your chair, gather around because I am going to go into my trip. I just got back from Iceland, as you know, Reykjavik, Iceland, and it was very expensive, but it was very beautiful. So in this video, I'm just going to try to cover like a day-by-day breakdown of my itinerary, what things cost, what did I wear, and just other suggestions that I picked up along the way. In the bottom corner, I'll try to keep a running tab going. So this will not include purchase items that I purchased before the trip. It does not include food or souvenirs. That will have its own column at the bottom. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, and while I'm recording this, I may look off to the side. It's just because I'm looking at my phone for notes since there was so much that we did. But essentially, before the trip, I made sure to book all the excursions, all the accommodations, etc. And I ensured that we had transportation for most of the days that we were there. We flew out on Saturday and we landed Sunday morning, me and my friend. And then we left Thursday and landed Thursday back in the States. So some things I purchased before I decided to go was a rain jacket, most definitely. I already had a waterproof bag. I already had my rain jacket from Costa Rica, but I already had a waterproof bag from Jamaica. I got a Type-C plug converter because the plug outlets are different. I bought these very short rain boots that fit inside my carry-on because I only take a carry-on and a backpack when I travel. I bought waterproof pants because that was suggested on Instagram. I had a waterproof phone case already. And I had compression socks already since the flight was going to be long. All of this stuff I'm going to have linked in the description below. So just follow the link and you should be able to get to those items. They were all pretty handy. Besides that, I downloaded a few apps before I left. The first app I've had it for years, is Viator. I love using Viator, or it could be called Vader. I pronounce it Viator, but if you're watching this, please correct me. Viator, please sponsor me. I have WhatsApp as well because I do not like using cell phone data outside of the country. This is the easiest way to talk to people in other countries or people back home via Wi-Fi because that's all I use when I'm out of the country. After scrolling through Instagram, it was suggested that I downloaded the Aurora app, and this is to help track down the northern lights, which we didn't think would be possible to do because it's typically seen in the September timeframe on forward, and we were coming in August. Outside of that, for every trip I go on outside the country, I have the currency app. It will tell you how much you're spending in US dollars. I was also recommended to download the Hop app. I did not use it, but if you are the type to rent an electric scooter, this is your best go-to. And then last but not least, my friend that came with me recommended I download Parkopedia. This app is to help you find free parking spaces, paid parking spaces, what time you need to pay for them, how much they cost. That gives you a map of the area and where to park. So that is just some of the before the trip things. Like I said, we left Saturday, August 2nd. I left out of San Antonio at 1 p.m. and had a layover in Minneapolis. And then I left out of Minneapolis at 8 p.m. and landed in Reykjavik on Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. with the time change. There's a 5-hour time difference between Texas and Iceland, so it was interesting trying to get coordinated. My friend left from DC that Saturday night and she landed in Iceland at 8:50 a.m. Sunday. My flight from San Antonio to Iceland one way was $5.99, and that concludes basically the Saturday. And now I can get into Sunday. Okay, so Sunday, like I said, Sunday morning we arrived. I was wearing my basic airport clothes. I had leggings, t-shirt, hoodie, tennis shoes type of vibe. It was freezing cold, and by freezing I mean it was probably 53 degrees with the real feel of 35 degrees. And then eventually it started raining, so I do suggest maybe having a backup pair of clothes to put on when you get there. We had the rental car reserved for 9:30 a.m. pickup. And we were suggested to rent through Blue Car Rental Service, which I do recommend. They were a great company, great service, easy to follow, easy steps process. The only thing is, we booked originally to have the rental car for all 5 days, but the total came out to $1,300. So we made the decision to only rent the car for 3 days since we're splitting the cost between the two of us. And that brought our cost down to $411 per person for 3 days. This included an automatic vehicle because they do have automatic versus manual. This included a 4-wheel drive vehicle, which we needed for some of our excursions. And it included Wi-Fi because, once again, I do not use cellular data outside of the US. I use Wi-Fi only, and so this would be helpful for Google Maps. I do suggest Wi-Fi if you're like me and you don't use that outside the country. You could just save on your international fee with your phone company, but to each their own. So like I said, Blue Car Rental is very easy to use. They are a self-service check-in type of business. They're very communicative with their emails and instructions. They pretty much emailed me throughout the whole process leading up to picking up the car. They emailed me a code to follow and instructions to follow to retrieve the keys from the key locker, and told me where to find the car in the lot. There's no need to really see the front desk unless you were like us and we were missing the Wi-Fi box from the car. So I did have to go inside and do that. Outside of that, the car is already preset to km and Celsius, so just make sure you kind of know those conversions a little bit. If not, just follow the street signs when it comes to driving. Overall, it's easy to drive if you're from the US. Just review some of the street signs before coming. If you don't know how to use a roundabout, now is not the time to learn. So definitely practice a roundabout here in the US before you go. About this time, it was maybe like 9:50 a.m. when we got done with the car. So we looked for food. We were trying to look for lunch. And unfortunately, no restaurant within a 30-mile radius was open before 11 or 11:30 a.m. So we decided to pick a random restaurant that was near our first stop of the day, which was Blue Lagoon. And we found this place called Fish House Bar and Grill. It was about 30 minutes away, so we just decided to go there since we didn't have anything else to do. And we arrived at 10:30. They did not open until 11, so we took a 30-minute car nap, which was a really great decision. Lunch lasted about 45 minutes. Since I waited the day before the flight to actually book for Blue Lagoon, I could not purchase any time frame like 10, 11, 12, or 1 o'clock. I had to purchase the 2 p.m. ticket option, which is why we had so much time in between lunch and Blue Lagoon. My friend had paid for lunch. I had tried their lobster soup, which was interesting. Got us a side of fries. My friend had a burger and fries, and we had our waters. She paid for food, and she told me it came out to $85. I thought that was really overpriced, but I had just chopped it up to the fact that I had a lobster soup, and maybe that made it very pricey. But anyway, outside of that, the customer service was good. And so afterwards we drove to Blue Lagoon, which is about 10 minutes away from the restaurant we ate at. They have a very large parking lot because it is very busy. So we just parked in the far back of the parking lot, and we took another car nap for an hour and a half because we couldn't check in until about 2. So how we ended up booking Blue Lagoon is we booked Blue Lagoon Spa through their website, and I'll put the link in the description below. It was very busy, lots of people, but the check-in was pretty easy. We booked straight from the website, like I said. They have an open locker style changing area. A few private changing areas are available if you don't like changing an open locker room style. And you are allowed to wear like wet shoes that you can walk around in before entering the lagoon. And obviously you must shower before you enter the water. This ran us at about $134 per person, and I'll explain why in a minute. But overall, it was a decent experience. The water was clean. It can get up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which was great because the real feel was 34 degrees. The ground was somewhat slippery and kind of uneven since it was built on top of like volcanic rock. But overall, it was a pretty nice experience. We got some great pictures. The package that we purchased was the comfort package. I think this is the cheapest package you can get. Like I said, it was $134 per person, and that came with 1 free face mask, which was in a small hut in the middle of the lagoon. A woman will scoop you some in your hand. You can wear it for about 5 to 10 minutes, then rinse it off in the water. And then our package also came with a free drink. I'm not sure if this includes alcoholic drinks, but we got 2 non-alcoholic drinks, and the bar is also in the middle of the lagoon. Besides that, after about an hour, there wasn't really much to do, so we kind of wrapped it up and drove 45 minutes to Reykjavik, where we stayed at Alva Hotel in Brunterholt, and I'm going to have a horrible time pronouncing half of the things in this video. so I do apologize. We were able to book Alva Hotel through bookings.com. Shout out to bookings.com. If you're watching this, please sponsor me. We ended up staying for 5 days and 4 nights, which totaled out to $575.33 per person between the two of us. Although the room was small, she did get the job done. So if you're a person that requires more room, especially in the shower and the toilet area, you may want to book somewhere else. It was a very compacted hotel room. The pros for this hotel is that it was a 12-minute walk from the water, which was great because everyone was out walking and biking and exercising. Some cons that were there was that it looked a little rough outside, a little unkempt. There's some trash, some weeds, and they're doing construction across the street. But once again, the inside was very nice, very clean, and the owners were very communicative. They contacted me consistently leading up to checking in. For check-in, they had left a very detailed email with the code on how to get into the hotel, and then our room number and a code on how to get into the room. The con is if you wanted someone to come clean and service the room, take out the trash, change the towels while you stayed, which is very common in American hotels, it would have cost 19 euro, which is $22 a day, to get that to happen. So if you want to save money, just try to use what you have. Breakfast was also not included, but you have the option to add breakfast because they're partnered with the restaurant that is connected to them downstairs. That option was 15 euro a day before you arrive, and once you arrive, if you wanted to add that, it was then 19 euro a day after check-in. So check-in was not until 3 p.m., so that kind of sucked because we had a very early flight. Thankfully, I had stuff planned in between there a little bit, which included our naps. But you do have the option to ask for early check-in if you just message them, and they will let you know, depending on how fast they can clean, if you can check in early. After settling, we went to go get food at Pasta's food hall and bar, which is about 10 minutes from the hotel. We drove over and we used the Parkopedia app to find free parking in the area, and then it was a 2-minute walk from there. The food hall has multiple restaurants to choose from. It was a really great vibe, really great energy. I ended up going to Fukumama, where I got fried chicken, dumplings, got grilled shrimp, bao buns, a glass of Pinot Grigio, and a glass of Riesling for my friend. I was kind of shocked when I learned that it equaled out to $81.54, which I thought was kind of pricey because in the States it wouldn't have equaled that much, but once we realized how expensive eating out would be, we stopped next door to this store called 10-11. I think it's called like Austrade. I'll put the name up on the screen. But we got groceries. So there I got like 3 fruit packets, 3 fruit bars, 3 chicken wraps, 3 granola yogurts for breakfast.
55 burgers, 55 fries, 55 tacos, 55 pies, 55 cokes, 100 tater tots, 100 pizzas, 100 tenders, 100 meatballs, 100 coffees, 55 wings,
and about 2 liter-sized water bottles. It came out to $102.58. The hotel had a mini fridge, but unfortunately it did not have a microwave, so we just purchased refrigerated items. After that, we headed back to our hotel, and we kind of chilled for the rest of the night because we were tired. We originally had a whale watching tour scheduled for $78 a person at 5 p.m., but I was told a couple days before we arrived it was canceled due to weather, which I'm fine with that because it was freezing cold and raining anyway. And that concludes day 1 of my trip. Alrighty, so now we are on to day 2. Day 2 was Monday for us, August 4th. We considered this our sightseeing day. It was advised that we get to all of these places early because they could become really crowded really fast. So we packed up our things for the day and we made a 2-hour trip to Seljalandsfoss. We got out there probably around like 9 a.m. or something like that, so we left pretty early. Today's outfit consisted of like thin leggings. I put my waterproof pants on top because they were pretty thick. Had a pair of thick socks, rain boots, long sleeve. I had a medium-sized jacket, my raincoat, my waterproof bag, and my waterproof phone case. You probably think this is very extra, but it is not. We were literally, it was raining while we were getting dripped on from the waterfall. So make sure you cover up, most definitely. So I will preface this, for today's itinerary, I stole it from Viator. This was something that they offered. So for those that don't have a rental, please feel free to book through the app instead. We figured it would be more fun to drive, so I'll put the link in the description below. Parking here costs $8.08, and just be sure to pay your parking. You can definitely receive a ticket, and it'll probably be 4 times as much as the parking fee, so just pay your parking. At this stop, there is a restroom, there's a souvenir shop, and I spent about $40.08 at the souvenir shop. It's probably my only time buying souvenirs, and they were very small, lots of magnets and things like that. And there was a small cafe truck, which was really cute. So overall, the waterfall is very beautiful. Although it was raining, like I said, I highly suggest to wear all your wet gear. And definitely take advantage of going behind the waterfall. I think this is the only waterfall that you can walk behind. And it was truly an incredible view. Just make sure your shoes have grip. Like I said, the rain boots held up really good when it came to grip while we were out there. So just keep that in mind. Next, we drove 30 minutes to Skogafoss, I believe that's how you say that, where we parked, and I paid for parking again. It was $8.08. The sun had thankfully came out more here, and they also had a restroom area. This waterfall is near like a camping ground / hotel situation. So there was other small buildings, but I'm not sure if those buildings were open to the public or what. I don't know. But there was a restroom if you do need one. And with the waterfall, you can go down to the bottom of the waterfall, like pretty close to the bottom, and get your pictures. It's very beautiful. Or you can prepare your legs to walk and hike like we did all the way up to the top of the waterfall. There's lots of stairs. Felt like I was climbing like the Great Wall of China or something. And you can get more views up there. If you keep hiking past the top of the waterfall, there are other views, but we didn't feel the need to keep going that far. It was really nice. We were getting hot. Had to come out in my rain jacket at the top. It's more dry up there, but it was just hotter. So we kept it short and then we moved on. Next, we had traveled about 15 minutes to Sohamayoko, I think that's how you say it, Glacier. But after following the Google Maps, we ran into a gravel road past the snowmobile rental place that pretty much said to turn around and take the map to the parking lot. So if you are going there, specifically set your map to Sohamayoko Glacier parking lot and not the glacier itself, because it will take you off the road. Once we found our way to the parking lot, we felt like we would have to hike to see where the glacier was. Plus, we were kind of getting hungry, and on top of that, did not want to pay for parking a third time. So we just decided to leave, but I definitely suggest that you go there. We were comfortable with leaving because we knew we had a glacier tour on the itinerary later on in the week. Afterwards, we drove another 30 minutes to Reynisfanya Beach, which is also known as Black Sand Beach. And my friend paid for parking this time. I suggest you park in the P1 parking. P2 parking was a tad further, but P1 parking was pretty full, and we just got lucky with the spot. Once again, they're well equipped with restrooms and food. We got to see the beautiful black beach. Just be aware of the warning signs. There is a red, yellow, green sign that tells you how dangerous it is to go out to the water, because the waves are very high and very dangerous. We were then told later by a few locals that 3 tourists had unfortunately passed away a few days before we came out there because they ignored the warning signs, and I believe they had drowned, which is very sad. Finally, we decided to end our road trip in Vic, which is about 10 minutes away. Although there is a lot to do and see in Vic, we just decided to rest and eat at Black Crust Pizzeria. I had 1 pizza and 1 drink, and that ran me $46.11. They're killing me with these food prices, y'all. I had a long drive back, so we didn't stay too long in the city, although I was recommended to do so. Before leaving Vic, I wanted to see if I can get gas. We were good on gas. I just wanted to see how it worked, which was interesting. All the pumps were self-service. There's no inside attendant or outside attendant. So I selected my language, I inserted my card. I didn't know how much ISK to put in, so I just selected the smallest amount, which was 5,000 ISK. And that turned out to be $4.04 worth of gas. But I didn't want to look stupid and try again, since there was like a line waiting behind me. So we just went ahead and took the 2-hour and 45-minute drive back to Reykjavik. Later that night, when I was going through my transactions, I thought I had been robbed, or I thought someone used my card to fill up their gas, because no one told me when you get gas in Iceland, they put a hold on your card for 2 to 3 days. And this is to ensure that you actually have the funds to pay for the gas that you're getting, because apparently people keep scamming gas. Like, I don't know, I've never heard of this stuff before in my life. So I was really upset when the $4 worth of gas that I had bought had put a $161 hold on my debit card. It later reverted back 2 or 3 days later, but I was very upset before my friend researched what the issue was. For dinner, we ate some of our groceries, but we did want a little sweet treat after. So we went to this place called Valdez. It's an ice cream shop. I got 1 scoop of ice cream. It ran me $7.68. And I forgot that we needed to drop off the rental the next day, so I needed to figure out how we were going to get back to Reykjavik with no car, because the airport was all the way at KEF airport. So I remembered when we took a shuttle service to get the blue car rental that there were other charter buses there, so I just kind of Googled around and I discovered Flybus. So I booked us Flybus for the next day. I'll just let you know the prices on it later. The ticket was flexible for the whole day, and there was no specific time, which was great. And that's the end of our Monday. August 5th, Tuesday, we had to hit the road a little early for today's adventure. But my friend suggested we go to a cafe before we get started. And somehow when she said cafe, I heard bakery. So we swung by Dej Bakery, where I got to try the famous creme brulee donut and some hot chocolate. It ran me about $14.10, but it was a 10 out of 10. It was definitely worth it. And afterwards, we decided to actually try to get real gas this time for our trip. Even though we had plenty of mileage, I just didn't want to risk getting there and then trying to find a gas station on the way back, since we were already in the city now. So we attempted to stop at a gas station with an attendant, but once again, I accidentally picked a gas station with no attendant inside or outside. It was only self-service. This time I decided to fill up with 10,000 ISK, which equaled to $75.93, which unfortunately came with a hold of $243.09. It did revert back later on, but it did make me upset in the time being. Also, a little hot tip. Blue Car Rental offers discounted gas at Oils and OB gas station, but we were never able to find one with an attendant in it, so we never got the discount, unfortunately. But when we filled up, we were at 713 km, which was max for gas, so off we went. The outfit for the third day was a thick sweater. I had my jean Sherpa jacket, I had my rain jacket, rain boots, thick leggings, and another pair of cargo pants on top with my thick socks. Looking back, I probably should have added another pair of socks, because I definitely underestimated the cold due to our activity for the day. So the main reason we did buy the four-wheel drive vehicle is because on the website it was recommended that you buy a four-wheel drive vehicle to meet out for the Glacier Adventure tour. We booked a tour. It was called Into the Glacier Adventure through Arctic Adventures. I will have the link below. And there were 3 options. You could be picked up from Reykjavik. You can meet at the Hallgrimskirkja Center, which you can meet there year-round. They pick you up from the Hallgrimskirkja Center on a charter bus and take you up to Klakki Base Camp, or you could just meet at Klakki Base Camp. The cheapest option was meeting at Klakki Base Camp, and we already had the car. It was 30 minutes from Hallgrimskirkja Center, so we just went with that. In total, it's a 2-hour and 15-minute drive from Reykjavik. This ticket ran us $206 per person. The meetup time was 10 a.m. and the start time was 10:30 a.m. This was a really great experience. When we got there, we waited on the folks from the Hallgrimskirkja Center to arrive on the charter bus. There was an opportunity to use the restroom. There was a little cafe situation. And then if you didn't have rain or water resistant boots, or if you didn't have a rain jacket, they offered you one. And then we loaded up into this big, gigantic, like army tank van truck thing, and we started driving on the mountain for about 10 minutes, and then eventually after the 10 minutes it turned to ice. We were driving on straight ice and snow for a good 15 minutes until we hit the glacier. Out there in literally the middle of nowhere. You look left, you look right, all you see is ice and snow, and we're on the top of a mountain. Like, you can see the cities down below. We're pretty far up. Like I said, completely underestimated the wind power because it was freezing freaking cold up there, but the experience was worth it. They split our bus into 2 groups, and I was in group 2, and we got to go inside of the glacier. It is a man-made cave slash tour that they have, but the glacier is real itself. Good thing I brought waterproof shoes and a waterproof jacket and my bag that was waterproof, because there were drip droppies everywhere all inside the cave while we were walking around. There's a lot of slipping and sliding. Someone even fell on the ground. There's a lot going on, but overall it was a good tour. After that, we wrapped up, got back on the bus, and we headed back to Clacky Base Camp, where we sat for a bit. We ate our snacks and lunch in the car from some of our groceries, and then we decided to head back to KEF Airport because we had to drop the car off by 6:30 p.m. Thankfully, this tour had wrapped up around 1:30, so I knew it was a 3-hour drive from where we're at, so we had plenty of time. We used the 4x4 feature on the car to drive back because we had to leave a different way than we came in. The road was rough, lots of potholes, turning, tossing left and right, but the views were undeniably amazing. Definitely recommend it. My friend asked if we could go to a cafe since I clearly misheard her the first time, and we ended up stopping by, I think it's called Hajj Coffee and Micro Bakery, before we headed to the airport. I got a little blueberry treat and then a little pistachio breaded treat, which were both really good. That ran me $14.26. Like I said, car rental drop off was set for 6:30 p.m. at KEF, and we made it there at 5:05 p.m. We had ended up stopping for gas right before the airport. My friend paid for gas this time. We did have an attendant this time inside that she can talk to. However, the attendant told her she requested to put gas on the pump. I told her she should put 7,000 on, but the options were 5,000 or 10,000. So my friend paid for 10,000 ISK for gas, and we only needed 7.5. So the remaining one is just on that prepaid card that we have somewhere in the abyss, I guess. But anyway, we pulled up to Blue Car Rental. It was very simple. I just followed the steps in the email, which it said pull up into the drop-off lot. I did. It told me to clear out the car. We did. Bring in the keys and the Wi-Fi box. We turned it in to the guy at the counter. We kind of had to hurry because although we had got there at 5:05, the fly bus that I had booked was leaving at 5:15, and the next one wasn't available until 6:45. So to avoid us sitting at the airport for over an hour and a half, we hurried up. We power walked, 8-minute walk over to the bus pickup, and we definitely made the 5:15 ride back to Reykjavik. It was a 50-minute ride, and we were dropped off at BSI bus station. The fly bus came with Wi-Fi, and the cost per person was $32.33, which was a really good price. After being dropped off at the bus station, we were a 15-minute walk from the church. So we decided to stop by the church. It's pronounced Hallgrimskirkja. I think that's how you say it. Like I said, I'm trying my best. It's very pretty. I do recommend going to check it out. There was an inside walk around option, but my friend and I did not want to pay ticket price because once you've seen inside of one church, you've seen inside all churches, honestly. I mean, they're kind of the same in a way. The outside was very beautiful though. While we were walking, my friend heard Iceland was famous for hot dogs. So a couple minutes from the church was Vikinga Pilser. I'm so sorry, I'm butchering this. Anyway, it's a hot dog truck where we got a hot dog, I got a drink, and it came out to a normal price, $9.72, which is pretty regular for us. Started to sprinkle a little bit after that, so we started our 20-minute walk back to the hotel. And once we got back, I started thinking of how we're going to get around when it's time to leave, even though we had another day in between then and to leave. So I Googled Reykjavik taxis. I found Taxi Reykjavik. Here is their WhatsApp number, and I booked them to pick us up from the hotel on Thursday. All I did was message him through WhatsApp. They're very good. So I will get back to that later, how much that costs and everything like that. And that is pretty much the end of Tuesday. Okay, so August 6th, Wednesday. The outfit of the day was thick leggings underneath, some more cargo pants. I had a thin turtleneck, a thick jean sherpa, once again, my rain jacket, rain boots, and waterproof bag. That is the go-to for every day while you're here. We had booked an excursion through the Viator app. Shout out to them. The Golden Circle / horseback tour. I thought we were riding horses, but then I just realized I didn't read. But it was okay. But that ran us $111 per person, and we had a 9 a.m. pickup. The nearest pickup we could select was Brim Hotel, which was literally right behind our hotel. So it was like a 3-minute walk right behind our hotel. The bus was a little behind, but after we got picked up on the shuttle, they had a couple more pickup stops, and then eventually we made our way. So to start off the Golden Circle route, we made our way to Kayrid Crater, and you could take pictures at the top of the crater, which was super crazy because it looked very, very cool. Because at the bottom of the crater, which you could also go down there and take pictures as well, there is a lake with clear blue water. After that, we were taken to Friedhamar and the tomato farm. Here we learned the background of Icelandic horses, and we talked about their genetics and their gait, which was really interesting. We then got to see a horse demonstration of how they run, their gait, as well as we got to pet the horses, so that was very nice. But the demonstration was done by a professional rider. Shortly after that, we were able to walk through the tomato greenhouse, and we had the opportunity to buy lunch based on the tomatoes, of course, that were created there. In the tomato greenhouse, they showed us the bees that pollinate the tomatoes, etc. And then you kind of got to eat there, or there's also another restaurant in that area on that farm, which we ate at. I bought the ravioli and got a strawberry mocktail, and that ran me $49.91. After then, we hopped back on our shuttle, where our shuttle man took us to, I think it's called Geyser, where we got to walk around. We got to see all the hot geysers shoot up. It's very fascinating. It started raining for a bit, and I felt like I should have worn my waterproof pants because my top pants were starting to get a little soaked. So after a few minutes of walking around, we went back into the souvenir shop, and that was way more expensive than any other souvenir place I've ever seen. Even the locals had advised not to buy things from there because it was severely overpriced. Next, we went to a beautiful waterfall, Gullfoss, where I got some amazing shots. This is the world's second most visited waterfall in the world outside of Niagara Falls. So that was pretty cool. It was a very great view. Got some great shots there. And then lastly, I believe we went to this place called Thingvellir National Park. Like I said, this is our last stop. We got to see where the tectonic plates had drifted, which was very nice. I got a little muffin and hot chocolate snack, but it turned out to be $20, so that wasn't fun. Then our driver began heading back to drop off everyone in their pickup spot. While dropping us off, though, he mentioned that the Northern Lights would probably be out that night around 1:30 or 2 a.m. So I said I was going to check on that later. After we recovered from his very interesting rough driving, we decided to try Loving Hut Vegan Market, which was like 3 minutes from the hotel. And I got 4 spring rolls and a soda, and it was $18.59. Later that night, I checked the Aurora app to verify if the Northern Lights would be visible, which they would, except the clouds were blocking the sky. And also, since we were in the city, it was too bright to see. I still woke up around that time just to see if I could catch the lights, but once again, the clouds were out, so the app is still very helpful to have. And that was the end of our Wednesday, essentially. Okay, so August 7th, which was Thursday, which was yesterday, which is crazy. That was our departure day. Our checkout was at 11 a.m. We really took our time sleeping in because we weren't sleeping that great with the time adjustment. But we took our time sleeping in, getting ready. We cleaned up a bit, and then we waited in the lobby for the taxi. So like I said, I had booked the taxi a couple days ago. He had picked us up a few minutes late, but we were able to make it to our next destination on time. The taxi from the hotel to Sky Lagoon was $20 a person. And then we had Sky Lagoon booked for 11:30 a.m. We had booked through Viator. Once again, great app. There were multiple options, but we selected the option that included the 7-step ritual and private changing rooms. Unfortunately, with this, there was no free mask or no free drink like with Blue Lagoon. So we were kind of thinking, that maybe Blue Lagoon might be better when they offer these things. But that is not true. So all of this, the 7-step ritual, private changing rooms, the entry was $168 per person, and I would like to say it's worth every penny. So if there's ever a debate between Blue Lagoon or Sky Lagoon is definitely better. Like I said, the private changing rooms, the private showers, they just have a luxury feel to them, and it also wasn't as crowded with tourists there as Blue Lagoon. In the private dressing rooms, they have lockers that are bigger than the lockers in the public dressing room. So we were able to fit our backpacks, our carry-on luggages, and everything else in there in the giant spaces that they had. Also, Sky Lagoon is a shoe-free zone once you enter the private changing area, and although the water wasn't the whitish blue that you get at Blue Lagoon, it was definitely very clean and clear, like not any type of dirt or hair in there. And the water was so hot you could literally take a nap. I really wanted to take a nap in there. We then went through the 7-step ritual, which included the lagoon, the cold plunge, the dry sauna had a beautiful view. There was an electronic side and a non-electronic side. Then step 4 was the cold mist. Then we went into the salt scrub room, and following that was a wet sauna. And lastly, you could shower off the remaining salt before you head back into the lagoon. Like I said, our package did not include a free drink, but there was a bar in the lagoon. We then chilled in the water for another 30 minutes, taking our beautiful photos, and then we decided to shower and get dressed, because I had scheduled a taxi to come pick us up for 2 p.m. So at this point, it was 1 p.m. Showered, got dressed. We headed over to their cafe where I got a smoothie drink, a cold sandwich, and a berry crumble cake. That ran me $33.23. We finished up eating literally 5 minutes before our taxi came at 2 p.m. to take us all the way to KEF. And that ran us $81.50 per person. You're probably wondering why we did not take Flybus back to KEF. And it's because Flybus does not pick up from Sky Lagoon. We would have had to take a taxi to a pickup location, then wait on the bus, and then take the bus. And that would have equaled out to the same as getting the taxi. So there was just no point in that. The driver was very nice. His car was very clean. And I would definitely use Taxi Reykjavik again if I do decide to go back. Me and my friend had booked the same departing flight at 4:20 p.m., which we were flying back to Washington, D.C., and that ran me $469.31. My friend lives in DC, thankfully, so I stayed at her house for the night. Woke up the next morning, which was this morning, which is why I look extremely tired, and had an 8 a.m. flight from BWI back to San Antonio for $88. Lastly, to conclude, all of the foreign exchange rate fees that Chase had hit me with, I don't know if all banks do this, but it came out to $14.05, which honestly is not that terrible. So just an overview of everything. Once again, Iceland is a very beautiful place. I do recommend, but you have to save your money. Just to add up everything I spent $437.80 in food and souvenirs. That's insane. My first time seeing this number is right now recording this. It has totaled out to be the 3rd most expensive trip I've taken thus far. Obviously, prices may vary, but please say you can save a hefty amount if you plan on traveling here with different things. Maybe you can cut costs with the 4-wheel drive vehicle and the Wi-Fi in the vehicle. But once again, you have to find the ride to your excursions, because not all excursions include a pickup. But yeah, I went to Paris and London in high school for $3,000. But thankfully, my mom paid for that. Shout out to my mom. And next year, I will be probably topping this amount with my trip next summer. But so right now I am ranking this number 3 as the most 3 highest paid for trip I've been on. My goal typically when I go out the country is $2,000. My goal for this trip was $22,000. So I definitely went over quite a bit. But I really enjoyed hanging out with my bestie, love her down. And now I'm curious to know, where is the most expensive place that you've been to? Drop that down in the comments below and let me know. And if you have any other questions, drop those down there too. I'll try to answer them as best I can. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this information was great, and have a good one.